Intro.
Organising this rally and inviting me to speak. I know it's not an easy thing to organise a public event, but just like the same back and connecting with putting on such an important event here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Brawler on the Brain. I'm Tim Wilms here in my studio in Melbourne, and joining me from the Borderlands for the first show is, he'll be with me every week, Jarrad Searby. How you going?
Very well, mate. Glad to be here. Excited to launch into our new venture. Should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Me as well. And we've got already our first special guest, Nick Banjo Patterson, is up in the Borderlands with you, Jarrad. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, it's nice up here. I could live up here, hanging out with good people like Jarrad. I thought he was a bit more rough around the edges, but he's actually a bit of a sweetheart. So
don't tell him that. You're going to do my reputation game. That's been my plan all along, was to slowly try to bait Nick up here. You know, the more people that we can get up here, the better. So it builds a good culture when we all connect.
Well, the way that I've seen Jarrad, it's only if you're trying to take away his freedoms when he gets terse, and rightfully.
Or if you try to stop me at the border, that seems to irk me a little bit too.
Yeah, because you've got the Border Patrol back, but it's on the Victorian side. So Victorian Police, 1,000 officers are quarantine in Melbourne, and there's apparently 1,000 others on border checkpoint.
No, well, they actually stopped. They pulled down the border checkpoints 2 days ago. So it was lucky. So the day before Nick come up, actually, because he's staying across the border, so it's made it easy for him. He doesn't have to worry about the permit. Not that I think he would have worried too much anyway, but yeah, they've taken it down now, so it's good. We have a little bit of freedom back.
But you still need the traffic light permit, Nick, to cross back. Otherwise, you'll get a fine.
No, there's nothing there. They're gone. They packed up and went home.
Well, you still need to have a permit. You still need to apply for a permit. Just because it's not being checked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick has a permit. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we do that.
There's a sign there, but there's nothing being policed. So, you know.
Still got to have your papers on you just in case. Remember the papers from our Melbourne lockdown?
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's getting a bit short. I mean, I'm just impressed with so I'm in Yarrawonga at the moment, right? So I went into the supermarket. There's a big sign on there saying you have to wear a face mask, but half the people in there weren't wearing face masks. So it's actually a bit of a change from Melbourne, where you go into some of the supermarkets don't even have a sign there, but everybody's wearing a face mask. So, you know, I think they're a little bit more laid back up here anyway.
I've found because I've been in Melbourne most of the summer that even though there's still that mandate in large retail settings and shopping centres, nobody cares anymore. If you want to wear one. If you don't, there's no more Karening, Karen-offs as I call them. I can't say the same for the other cities that have had to wear masks for the first time this year, Sydney, Brisbane, and now Perth. They're going through their first mask mandate, and there's conflicts all over the place, and the police cracking down hard on anti-maskers.
Well, their first mask mandate, and they're now supposed to wear 2 masks, are they not? Two's better than one?
That's the health advice from the god doctor, Anthony Fauci, the infectious diseases expert over in the United States. When was it last year? He said wearing a mask didn't work to contain all droplets. Now says wear 2.
Well, why not 3? Well, why stop at 2?
It just shows the level of intelligence, isn't it? I mean, just as well we're being governed by these brilliant minds, because otherwise, you know, we might have huge infection rates.
Yeah, it's funny that they seem to uncover new things about the virus. That more things we need to do. Is this because of the new super strains that we need to wear more than one mask now?
We have super strains coming out of every country now, don't we? I think every country has its own unique blend.
Got their own kind of blend. Yeah. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Put on 2 masks, and if you can, put on 3. I know it's hard to fit 3 on your face, but if you can, okay, just because we just don't know, you know.
I think the next step is just a plastic bag. They just recommend you put that on and tie that at the bottom.
And the step from there is we all have to go to special camps where we don't have any, you know, like, because you know, these super strains can live in your bed, they can live in your roof. So they're going to have special places for us to live, so special camps that they'll take us to. But it's okay; it's not going to cost you anything. They're going to send these government buses around to pick everybody up, and they're going to take them to these camps. We will be safe from this these new strains of this virus.
You know, it's so disheartening. I don't watch much TV, but I've been watching a show called The Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's a bit of a Viking show, and I like my Vikings. I like, you know.
You look like a Viking, actually.
Yeah. Well, I try. But the point of the story, you know, for 3 seasons have been Vikings and this and that, and we've just got into the 4th season last night, and me and my wife were watching it and wouldn't fucking believe it. But coronavirus has hit season 4.
I believe it.
So now they're no longer worried about the Norse invading, you know, Wessex and all that. The flu has come, the plague. So now they need to lock down, and you know, they can't fight anymore because they need to lock down. They can't leave their homes. They need to lock down. So it basically turned me off TV. I said to my wife last night, that is it. I am not trying to watch another show. I am done. Like that ruined TV for me. You know, I'm off. I am completely off.
You mentioned there, Nick, the quarantine camps, which they have that one in the Northern Territory, that Howard Springs, which it sounds sort of luxurious, a remote camp which has all these nice amenities. Now there's talk, because the virus keeps leaking out of hotel quarantine in Sydney, Brisbane, and now Perth, that there needs to be more remote quarantine camps. And well, we remember last year Daniel Andrews' omnibus bill, where he tried to sneak in that there'd be what do you call the COVID authorized officers who could detain you indefinitely.
Yep, that's right. So you know, that's you know, people got to recognise that, you know, these people don't. The government doesn't have your best interests at heart. They don't care about you. We know they don't care about you. They you know, what's the maxim of law? You should be known by your acts and action, and their acts and action in the past have been disgusting. They lie about everything. They're involved in, you know, in all sorts of criminal activities. I mean, you've got Daniel Andrews going over to, you know, to China and you know, selling. You know, I don't know if you guys saw the speech. I think someone received it by a freedom of information request, where it basically was the speech that I don't know if it was Daniel Andrews. It was someone from you know, someone that was from his cabinet that went over, and they basically said that we want China to come in to Victoria, and we'll be the gateway for China. And they want to do private-public partnership together. So they don't care about you. They have an agenda. I mean, the fact that they locked away all those people in those high-rise commission flats, who my cousins used to live in those flats too. So it was a little bit personal for me. And then when you find out that they have an agenda to sell that property for a ridiculous amount to these Chinese investors as well, everything is about money. It's about lining their pockets and getting control over the people. Because you and I, okay, we're like batteries. Okay, they look at us like batteries, and they're going to charge us as much electrical charge as they can from our bodies. How much energy can they suck out of us and take control of us? That's how they look at us. Whereas, you know, we look at each other as being people that have rights, and they have a right to happiness and joy, but they don't look at it like that. And all you've got to do is look at the actions of the government. The fact that they write legislation that conflicts, that makes no sense, and it always attacks and restricts the human rights and the human right factor. that's the evidence that they don't have your best interests. But for some reason, they're not getting it. I think it's because of the they're distracted with the TV, the media. They're distracted with their football. And they're still distracted with those things. And I think a big part of, say, in the West problem is that we've been overfed, overstimulated. We have more of everything. And because of that, that's actually the weapon that's being used against us. A country like, say, Poland, where they haven't been overfed, overstimulated, okay, and the government hasn't given them very much. They don't have as much to take away from them. But in our society, obviously, they can take a lot away because they've given us a lot.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that people watching the news, the mainstream media are still scaring people shitless about they've moved on to the super strain because that obviously keeps the hype and fear up, and that's why the people of Brisbane and now Perth have been so compliant with their circuit breaker lockdowns over one case escaped from hotel quarantine in Brisbane early in January. It was a cleaner. In Perth at the moment, they're in their 5-day circuit breaker lockdown. It was a security guard, and they've just confirmed he's got the new UK super strain. And everyone, even though the leaders say not to panic buy, they just buy everything, and they all seem to have the masks all ready to go. Especially the mask fashionistas who have you see those women with those like polka dot masks and that, try to make it a fashion accessory.
Well, how did they even test for that? Can they evidence anyway that it's some new super COVID? Like, where's the evidence of that? Is there any evidence? Because he who makes the claim bears the burden of proof. Can they prove it at all? I bet you they can't. There is probably no proof. I mean, the PCR test, we know, only tests for particles. It doesn't test for anything other than particles. So how are they testing for this thing to prove it? I bet you there's no proof.
And it's the same rhetoric that they always use. They use fear to drive whatever they're pushing at the day, whatever their story is, whether, it's Islamic terrorism, African crime games, we've seen them all over the years. And at the moment, it's just COVID. But whatever it is, it's fear. The news is flooded with fear. We never see a good news story. It's not what they give us on the media. It's something to make us scared. Your house is going to be robbed. Women are going to be raped walking through the park. Your kids are going to be kidnapped. It's always something to make you fear. When we look around, up here, we don't see that. We see good people, but that's not, when you turn on the TV, you don't see, bloody, good deeds. You see the evil of the world, and that's what they want people to concentrate on, is the evil of the world.
Yeah, and the fact that they want to put, the reason that they put all that fear into the people's minds is to justify their existence. The government needs they need to have a job, right? They want to have a job, so they're going to create more and more jobs for their mates, more and more power. They're going to govern more and more things, and they've just got to justify that governance. So if there's lots of crime and there's lots of issues and there's lots of right-wing extremists, it might even be the Christians, those violent Christian extremists. That might be what it is next. They create some sort of rhetoric that makes people, or a narrative that makes the people believe that we've got to watch out for these right-wing conspiracy theorists, terrorists, or whatever it is. And then they go, we need bigger guns, we need more powers, because if we don't have more powers, these dangerous people might commit a crime, a serious crime, and somehow they're able to convince people that. So basically, the mainstream media and the government are just expert liars. That's been my experience. They're expert liars.
Did you hear early in January that Germany to try and control COVID rule breakers, they're going to put them in what used to be refugee camps, as they claim the bodies continue to pile up in eastern Germany hotspots. So this is happening in a few states to some repeat offenders. The historical parallels when you read a headline like that are quite chilling.
They are, because I got a mate that was from, he grew up in East, when the wall was up, East Germany. He does movie stunts, and he he told me all about it, and he told me, because I was in a movie in China, with him. We did a movie over in China, believe it or not, and I just did stunt work. And he said that China was worse than you know, and China is really bad in parts. I don't know about the whole, but where I was, it was very, people are not happy. But the parallel is the same. It's the same. It's just, you know, they're going to get people into these places. The fact that they said East Germany, you know, that rings. It's like it's two things. It's the quarantining and it's the East Germany. It's the parallels. They just follow the same pattern.
The division again, isn't it? You know, they bring the East and where they bring the division.
Well, what I mean, I'm getting at is that East Germany was separated from Germany. It had a big wall around.
Yeah,
you know, and then they're isolating people, and they're going to find a reason to do it, to isolate the people. And it's an amazing lie if people believe it, because you can't see it, you can't prove it. There's no evidence of it. I mean, there isn't any evidence of it, nothing tangible. There's just people that say, I got COVID. Well, how do you know you got COVID? Oh, because the doctors told me. But were you sick? No, I wasn't sick, but the doctors told me. Like, we did this test.
Well, the PCR test told them they had COVID. And you mentioned China. They found a way to make the PCR tests more accurate with anal swabs. And there's this video demonstration going around. It's performed on a dummy, but with the anal swab, you still have to get the brain poke with it up your nose, and still. Do
they do the anal swab first and then go into the nose?
I'm not sure.
That's when you know that they're just taking the piss.
Yeah,
right?
And deep throat you as well. So this is the demonstration here.
Mate, we really needed some subtitles for that. That was hard to understand. I got the basic gist of it, but without subtitles, you know, I might make a mistake.
Well, it was in Mandarins, I assume, but you saw the demonstration of the anal swab, so it goes right in and then twists it. So ultimate humiliation and degradation to get that anal swab, and apparently this is what you come out looking like after the anal swab. Now, I reckon it's a ploy by China, because they managed to sell lockdowns to the Western world. They're probably thinking, let's see if we can get Western governments to start.
You cut out, mate, at the end of that.
You there? We can't hear you, mate. We lost your volume. You've lost your volume, Tim. You still hear us? Your mic is muted.
Yeah, but it wasn't before.
No?
No. It's playing with it.
Can't tell if you're hearing us or not.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Tim?
I reckon China got in there. They heard us bagging them out, and they just went, well, we're going to...
Well, Tim's been known to associate with ASIO. It's, you know, as the Senator Slater has revealed time and time again, he's working with Daniel Andrews. So you know, when things like this happen, that's generally
That's who it is. There has to be.
Yeah. That's our first assumption. Do you want us to go out and back in?
I think we lost them both there for a moment. They should be back in a moment. I know that Senator Slayer is back with that comment there about me working for Dan Andrews. How is it a proven fact, Senator Slayer?
That's better.
Mate, I was just telling Nick that Daniel Andrews. See, Senator Slayer, he's spot on. We've had this problem before, Tim.
Yes, we have, but it was just a random technical glitch. I'm not sure if you've heard this conspiracy theory of Senator Slayer's, Nick.
Well, you know what? You can never tell, you know, who the infiltrators are. But I don't know. I don't reckon you'd work for maybe the other side, because there is another side. Maybe you'd be. I reckon you'd be more on the liberal. Although he might be pretending to be like the conservative, but really he's a full lefty.
Well,
he might be a full lefty.
Yeah. Well, we did have a master.
We need to track. We need to you know, follow him around a bit, like do the ASIO thing and just see what he's up to.
Well, there was a masked member of Antifa on the Proud of Your Hunters podcast last night that did have a striking resemblance to Tim. So. Yeah, I'll have to watch that back and see. Yeah. But there was a balaclava man that represented Antifa. Tim, that wasn't you, was it? Do you know the interview I'm talking about?
No, not to my knowledge.
You haven't seen that interview? You'll have to watch that interview back. Yeah.
We are broadcasting this show every week, both on the Unshackled YouTube channel and the combined now Unshackled Wilmsfront D-Live channel. And we are also on Entropy, which is the YouTube and D-Live enhanced software. I'm just putting the link into the chat. That's how you can participate in the show. You can ask us a question, or better yet, send us through a super chat to support the show, and we'll read it out on air. Nothing is too out there for us to read as a super chat. We want the audience to participate. We've already got a great audience for the first show.
What are we sitting at, Tim? Yeah, we can't see.
Oh no, it's bad luck to read out how many live viewers you've got at any one time.
Oh, okay. Did you know this?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, lucky we know that. Thank you for telling us.
So I've got to bring one thing up. What if, I reckon, because it's getting a bit ridiculous now, I reckon all these people that are all these leaders probably just go and have like a poker game, right? And whoever wins the poker game gets to tell the other people what ridiculous things to do with their people that they're governing. And I reckon maybe China's been losing their poker games all the time. It must be a club, or maybe it's like a club where they all go together, the leaders of all these places, and they go, I bet you can't get your people to do an anal swab, and they go, I bet you I can. Okay, and that might be what it is, because I don't see any other logical reasoning for doing an anal swab, putting 2 masks on, all of it, right? Unless that they're just taking the piss out of us and they're just having a laugh at us.
What do you think, guys? Anal swabs, way of the future?
Never. It might be.
Never. Hey, Big Ace says no anal swabs. So no anal swabs.
Good to see you.
You wonder with good to see you, Ace. You wonder with the vaccines, are they going to say, oh, it's more effective injected through the buttocks, or better yet, a suppository up the anus?
Suppository, I'm guessing. Saves an injection.
That's true, actually. Well, it is kind of an injection.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's a sort of injection. And, you know, there's a lot of people in this scene that don't mind injections to the bum, so injection might be the way. I vote injection.
He doesn't even change his face at all.
Tim, you said controversial.
Well, we're not the ones who came up with. Well, we did speculate that they'd probably go for the most invasive. Well, the existing PCR test, the brain poke and the deep throat. Now they've got the trifecta, because the anus swab, you still got to get the nasal swab and the deep throat as well. So all three combined apparently make the PCR tests even more accurate.
Yeah, you definitely have to triple up. I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's really, look, that just shows you how creative they are, because it must be really hard to be able to prove to people that a disease that doesn't exist, or the virus doesn't exist, exists. That's not easy, you know, and that's what all this is. I mean, it's all theatre, but they're going to extreme lengths to make us believe it.
Not only that it doesn't exist, but they'll actually make you drop your pants and spread your cheeks. So they've done a really good job.
Now, with we've talked about the two face masks. When Brisbane had their circuit breaker lockdown, they adopted the Dan Andrews rule, masks whenever you leave the house. But they had to one up Dan by you had to wear a mask even while driving solo. So do you still see people out on the roads in Victoria wearing a mask while driving solo?
Yep, we always laugh at them too.
Yeah, I'm like,
point. Yeah, get the kids to look out the window and look, kids.
And they tend to be either or both fat and old.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah, definitely old. A lot of older people. See, I don't sort of blame the older people as much. I mean, a lot of them, you know, they didn't have the access to information that we had. So when they were brought up on TV, they tended to believe TV. You remember back in the day that BBC used to run every year an April Fool's joke on the country. One year they actually ran a story about a spaghetti tree, a tree that grew spaghetti, and they were inundated with letters, you know, people trying to find out where they could find the seeds for this spaghetti tree, you know. So they were brought up, and I think that was a test to see how much they had convinced them then, and they realised, shit, people actually believe in what we tell them. And, you know, over the years it progressed, but the older people didn't have the access to information to know that that was all bullshit that we do. So today we have no excuse. So I have a little bit of sympathy when I see the boomers with a mask, but, you know, when I see
that's a tragic story though. That's really tragic.
Yeah.
What about the fatties? Because the most hilarious ones are the fat people with the huge beards, and it like covers like a fraction of their bearded face, and they've got the whole beard poking out as well, and it just looks like like if it wasn't,
they'll have a cheeseburger.
It wasn't forcing you.
Yeah, they'll drink 2 liters of Coke and eat a cheeseburger, but they're worried about COVID. So shows you the mentality.
Yeah, I have to tell you a funny story. When I was at a pharmacy, it was just at a small town one, so it's on the street, which means that small retail, so don't have to wear a mask. None of the pharmacy staff, including the pharmacists themselves, were wearing masks because it wasn't mandated by the governments, but all the customers were wearing. And it was even funnier than all the other times that I've seen people wearing masks when they don't have to. I mean, these are like, pharmacists have pretty much the same intensity of training as doctors and other high level health professionals, and they're not wearing masks. They don't feel the need to wear masks, even though they're dispensing medications to sick people. But they, in their professional mind, it's not worth them. They don't see the benefit of wearing a mask when the state's not forcing them to. But their customers, they're all walking around the store with masks. Don't they think, hang on, the health experts in here are not wearing masks?
Well, that would be logical, and there's not a lot of logic left. But wherever that pharmacy is, that's probably the kind of pharmacy you want to go to.
Yeah, I'm going to go there at excellent prices as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you walk in and see your pharmacist in a mask, then you start to worry a bit. Yeah,
I went to a doctor to get a blood test done for something, and I went in there, and he had 2 masks on. He had a mask on and a face shield on and rubber gloves, and I just went, you seriously think that I'm going to infect you with something that we don't even know exists?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's very serious. It's very, very serious. Okay. You know, because you're out there. You need them because they have this legal power over you You know, if you need to get a blood test for something, you know, and for me, it's because I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have to get a blood test every couple of years for my driver's license. So I have to go in there as much as I don't want to go in there and actually humble myself and be told, you know, from people that I definitely don't believe have the right information. And definitely when a doctor's wearing one here, and rubber gloves on, you just know that. Oh, and when I went into that doctor's, I went up to the counter, and the lady at the counter that works in the reception, she said, "Where is your mask?" And she was pedantic about it. "Where's your mask?" And I said, "Oh, I'm getting an exemption from the doctor." And then straight away she went, "Oh yeah, it's okay." So she was up here, she was in like 5th gear, and then she just dropped down to, you know, almost park. So there's no logic. It's not logical. So we've got to stop asking logical questions and looking for a logical solution. This is not logical. This is completely emotional. People want to believe that their government cares about them. They want to believe that everything is fine because I'm convinced that these people they trust the government they have for so long, and they don't want to believe that the government doesn't care about them and that they don't have their best interests at hand. They don't want to believe that the governments could possibly or potentially be a whole lot worse than they have been, in say Nazi Germany.
Well, it's a scary thought to think that we have to look after ourselves too. So people, you know, if the government's not there to look after us, who protects us when the big bad man comes to our door?
Well, that's the whole issue. See, when you have freedom, you don't have the security, right?
Yeah.
So it's this trade-off. Like we have everything's regulated, right? Can't walk your dog off the lead because they might get in trouble. You can't take him here. You can't say this. You can't drive there. You can't park there. You know, you can't go here at this time. You know, there's so much micromanagement in especially in Victoria. They call it the nanny state, right? So it's all for your safety, but everything for your safety restricts your ability to have rights. I'd rather have less safety and more rights and be able to choose and make decisions for myself that potentially might cause me to, to not be safe. But then I'll learn my lesson. But you never, you know, I mean, whenever you give up your rights for the security, you lose something that's I think the most important thing that we have, and that's our ability. Because I like to do things, go out and do stuff. It's like I was with my mate. Like I like to go. I've got a compound boat. And I go and I go to his property and that's where we practice. He's got targets set up, and he's right into hunting. And he said, and I've got a dog that's a very good dog for hunting because it gets a smell and it follows the smell. But my dog doesn't bark unless the only time my dog barks really is if someone comes close to my kids. Or knocks on the door and they don't know them, and then she'll bark, but she doesn't usually bark. So it's a perfect dog for hunting. Apparently, there's legislation there that dogs like my dogs, because they have a big bite, can't be hunting dogs. There's specific breeds that you can use. So you can't even go hunting for food with certain dogs because they might bite the animals too hard. At the end of the day, you're going to kill the animal. That's what you're going to do. But this is how ridiculous it is. Everything is controlled, and you get fined. They fine you for everything because when they fine you, they're charging you and they're sucking charges out of you, or you're paying the charges are to pay the bills that go through the Parliament because they're bills. You're passing a bill through. You ever wonder why they have that word? You ever wonder why they have you can pay something with bills? I paid my debt with $100 bills. I mean, everything's backward in our society, and it's all starting to become exposed, and people are starting to see it for what it is in some degree.
Well, governments, they're hiding behind their health advice, their health experts, which is, well, they're the people that the government has appointed. They doesn't mean that they're the best medical and scientific mind, these various chief health officers and chief medical officers, which chief health officer, would all chief health officers or health experts recommend a lockdown for one case? Because remember that super strain in Sydney, it was so infectious that that cleaner who went out to the community spread it to one other person who was their partner.
I reckon Joe Biden's new one might, the transgender one.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the sniff strain. Because well, as we know that he likes to give everyone
the sniff strain. Yes, he does. He does. He definitely has a fetish for that, and it's. People can say whatever they like. All you got to do is go through the video footage. There is enough video footage there for you to see that this guy is a creepy bloke. He is not a good guy, and you know he's is like a deputy chief health officer is a transgender.
Deputy Health and Human Services Secretary, that Dr. Rachel Levine, who was the Health and Human Services Director in the state of Pennsylvania, who, while she was making decisions about moving all COVID patients to the one place, took her own mother out of a nursing home.
The good thing is, but you know, the saving grace, at least once you hit 21, then you're safe from Joe Biden. So at least we can take that. You know, if you're 21, you're safe. So under 21, you know, you might have to worry about a sniff, but once you're 21, you're in the clear. So at least there's a saving grace.
The society is so bad. I mean, we can't be making excuses for any of it. You know, I mean, you've got people like Bill Shorten with the rape allegations, and you know, I believe that woman's testimony too.
She didn't get she didn't get a minute on the news. Like, she was completely pushed under the
bloody she got thankfully some coverage in the Pickering Post and also on Michael Smith News, but Victoria Police no
people who know what the Pickering Post are, and you're one of them.
Victoria Police said that there was no case to answer their investigation. While Bill Shorten was under investigation, it was public knowledge in the press gallery, but they never revealed he was under investigation until he was cleared.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, you know, just like people that get their cases put on a suppression order, they get protected. You know, there's plenty of that. We know that there's that. We know that people like Gary Dowsett, you know, their cases are suppressed, and I can tell you that's a fact. I know that. So it's not like I'm making anything up, and I'm not saying something. And I'm not the one that's suppressed, so I can say it because I wasn't put on a suppression order, so I can say it. So I've looked into that. I can say it, and you know, it's always
you haven't got any deformation notices, because there's a critic of our show who claimed that what's on your website, you'd be getting some defamation notices.
Who's that?
Oh, I don't want to give them credit. A critic of this show claimed that what's on your website could get you into lots of trouble.
I don't understand how there's a critic of this show. I thought we were just loved by everybody, were we not?
You know, I get a few critics. I had one the other day who posted up one of my videos saying that, you know, how I didn't know anything about the law and X, Y, and Z. But anyway, then there was only 2 comments on there, so it didn't worry me. And the 2 comments were in my favour. One was sort of giving him a hard time. The other one was saying, "Don't worry about him, Nick." So it's obviously someone that knew me. You know, they'll go away in the end. And so, yeah, that's okay. That means you're doing the right thing. If you're not persecuted, then you're not doing the right thing. If it's all easy, and that's what it is for these people. Everything's set up for them. The whole stage is set. I mean, all you got to do is look at these politicians. They speak. They have a certain persona. Everything is covered a certain way. Now, obviously, they have to make people believe it, have to show the other side in some part. But I think they know that tipping point one way or the other, so that they can balance it, so they can deceive it. So I think they're masters of deception. I mean, that's what the media is. It's just a tool that's being used to indoctrinate people. I mean, if it wasn't the case, why do they put subliminal images through the kids' cartoons? Why do they do that? I mean, that's on the record. That's proven. You can look it up. It's a fact. They put it in the video games. You know, they are using this stuff to control, and we know that they are, because all you've got to do is look outside. If you live in Victoria or one of the other states that are in a lockdown in any degree, and you can see it for what it is. The evidence is there.
We've got a super chat on Entropy, and now if you want to participate in the show, please join us on Entropy. I'll put the link in the live chat again. This super chat is from a regular viewer of all Unshackled Productions, Senator Slayer, who's sent through $3 Australian. Thanks for that super chat. Tim, would you ever put anything in your anus? No anal swabs. Well, obviously there are legitimate times when, for health reasons, that your anus needs to be penetrated, like a prostate exam or a colonoscopy. So yes, and well, if you're abducted by aliens, you don't have much choice in the matter.
I've heard that. Yep.
So question back to Senator Slater: would you put anything in your anus? That's the question.
We'll see if he answers in the chat.
Why would you ask him that? Do you? I don't know if I want to know. I don't think I want to know that.
I've known him a long time.
Keep your Christian mind pure, Nick.
Thank you. I try my best. You know, I try my best. He's been really well behaved since I've been up here, and it's only now I think that it might be
alcohol in front of you.
That was, yeah.
He's got one.
Yeah, I tried to give one to Nick, but he threatened to slap me, so I took it away.
I'd say that's disrespectful. I mean, the fumes might be getting in Nick's face.
Well, I've got to do something for him. He won't have one. No. Everybody needs a release, Tim.
When you do wrestling, we've been doing wrestling, right? And I've been giving it to the boys, and
literally
really
giving it to the boys.
Yeah, and it's pretty close. It's pretty close. You get sweat, blood. That's the least that he can do.
Well, as long as you don't and then the rest of Nick drinking, then I will respect your personal choice.
Mate, I have a sore back, so Nick's come up out of the kindness of his heart to help out the gym here, and this is our new gym, our new facility. So Nick's helping us to set up our wrestling thing. So I haven't been able to do much. I've been sitting on the sideline. I got about a 30-second wrestle in, and that was enough for me to know that, yeah, I'm not wrestling, Nick. We're very lucky to have you.
We've talked about the quarantine camps. Now we've got the COVID disinfectant device. I'm not sure if you've seen this. Basically sanitizer booth. I'll just play this.
This is contactless misting with a non-toxic sanitizer. You simply swipe your hand and walk through. The whole process is contactless. It sanitizes external surfaces. The real hero here is the product that goes in the machine. If it's a really hot day, you can run water through this pump and run around in your undies in the backyard. It is fantastic, but when coupled with another Australian product, Hydro E, we know that it kills germs and bacteria in under 20 seconds. And not having alcohol, that's the safest way to sanitize. Not many people know this, but without alcohol, the applications are endless. This product is even safe for use on food. We need to get that message out there. I think if we listen to the message from our leaders, we don't know what the next issue is going to be. We don't want to be complacent, and also the opportunity for exporting these machines is endless. We need to create jobs at the moment. We need to safeguard Australia, and we can show that Australians can lead the way in manufacturing, lead the way in safety in this pandemic, and the next one and beyond.
Now
about that.
Mate, Nick started twitching as she was talking. He was just waiting for you to.
There is so much wrong with that. You can see she's a saleswoman, right? She's a complete saleswoman. First thing I thought of was DDT is good for me. Remember that? DDT is good for me. It was that chemical they used to spray in the schools. They used to spray it everywhere. Then they find out it causes cancer and all these other issues, right? But they'll spray it on them. It was good. It was meant to be good for them, healthy, and it kills germs. I can't actually remember what the application was, but they used to drive. They had trucks that would just spray this DDT, and they'd have ads that the kids would come out and be playing in the DDT. Right? It's banned in nearly every country in the world now. Right? And it's the same thing, exact same pattern. And this woman saying, "Oh, it's just it kills germs. Your body has germs. They can't differentiate between a good germ and a bad germ. Well, you should kill everything." And that's the whole issue with that I have with like chemotherapy. And I'm not saying that there aren't applications for it, but like one solution for killing cancer is to kill someone. Just shoot them. they're dead. That's going to kill the cancer as well, but it's going to kill you, right? So what they're doing is they're killing. They want to spray them with some sort of chemical that's going to kill germs, but it's also going to kill all the good germs, which eventually is going to kill you or make you very sick. And this woman's trying to sell that. And you can see she's not speaking naturally. If you just look at the way she speaks, she kind of it's like she's memorized the stuff just to say it. She's a little bit nervous. She's memorized it. She's trying to sell it, and she's got an agenda. There's nothing natural and honest about it. These people are like used car salesmen. They're selling an idea, and the idea is bad. It's a bad idea, and I wouldn't trust her at all. I don't think she's that bright either.
And remember, Tim, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend that you smoke Camel cigarettes.
They did. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the chemical is called Hydro E, which sounds disturbingly like the name of another chemical that was used over 80 years ago. Now, I don't know much about this chemical. It could work perfectly, but again, it brings up disturbing images and sort of memories. And well, what are they going to do next? Or when you arrive at the quarantine camps, are you going to all be ushered into this Hydro E chamber to get deloused?
And it's like, so I have to trust you. You know, you're telling me I have to trust you. Can they compel you to trust them? I don't trust you. I don't believe that I should be forced to do something that I don't believe is good, you know, in my best interest. But they're going to claim sovereignty over you and say, well, you know, you have to do it. You just have to, right? Who is this government that they think that they can tell us, you know, what we can and can't put into our body, what chemical, you know, and tell us that we have to be sprayed with chemicals, because that's where we're going. You know, they already irradiate us for different things as well. When you go through the you know, if you go into the, you know, travel, you know, through what do they call it, customs, you know, you go through the airport security, they, you know, there's that, you know, that's really bad for you, right? And that's why pregnant women don't have to go through there. So it tells you it's actually bad for you, but they've gotten us to that point where we do that regularly. Imagine if you were traveling all the time and you were constantly getting irradiated. You know, it's just more of the same, and it's more of it. And look, are people getting healthier? Are people improve as their health improve? Are we living long? Are we getting more cancers? Do we have more mental problems? Do we have more autism? Do we have more of these things? Yes, huge amounts. It's gone up massively. There was a woman, I think her last name was Benays in the US, and she said there was going to be an epidemic of cancer, and that was not long after the SV40 you know, was exposed, and there was a big court case too, where they found this SV40 virus, simian virus 40, in these vaccines, and they said, but it was 50 million of them went out, and everybody that had this injected into them was a polio vaccine, I believe, ended up with a cancer-causing virus in them. It's like 50 million people. Like, this is the stuff, and it's on the record. It's not like some conspiracy theory. You just look it up. SV40.
Oh, but doing your own research, that's what conspiracy theorists say. You're just supposed to watch the TV and listen to the approved people.
Well, most people won't even acknowledge the radiation thing that Nick just mentioned. You know, most people won't acknowledge that radiation's bad for them. Tim, I think you're a bit of a radiation denier myself when it comes to the 5G. Tim's a 5G phone.
Yeah, 5G phone.
Yeah, me, I am anti all that. The radiation levels are well beyond the recommend. You know what's recommended. Even the smart meters we put on the house. So if you stand in front of a smart meter and you get a heat detecting monitor, your body completely disappears. You get lost in the radiation of the smart meter.
I've tested with a friend of mine's got one of those. I've got 2 friends with one, and I've used one of these radiation detectors, an EMF. It's an EMF one, right? And I've used it at the gym smart meter, and it was really high to about 1.5 feet. And once you went past 1.5 feet, it dropped dramatically. I used my friend's one at my house, and it was okay. But the one at the gym, if you were close to that, the radiation is very high. That smart meter, like really high. So it hit the maximum level. It changes colors. It goes to the red, and it went to that, and I don't know how much further, but that wasn't. Then it went to once I got to about 2 feet away from it, it dropped dramatically down.
Yeah, well, I have heard that they say it's worth about 160 to 180 mobile phones just in that pulse that releases every however many seconds or fucking.
Oh, just get a brain surgeon. Brain surgeon will tell you having a phone it causes cancer.
Well, it says in your phone, in the booklet, don't touch it. It says to keep it. Look, if you get your phone, the book from your phone, you open that up, you have a look. It'll say in that to keep an inch from your skin at all times.
What they call a soft kill device. Slowly kills you because if you okay, I believe that these governments look at us like cattle, and they just rule over us, and they think that they're better than us, and we're a different class of people. So what they do, if they go, look, there's too many people, what do we do? Well, we can't just kill them. But what if we shorten their lifespan? Let's shorten their lifespan, and let's kill the old people. Let's make people, cause a lot of people to die slowly, so they won't live as long. That does the same thing. Has the same.
Humanity is living longer. Humans today, in this century, are living much longer than they did the previous century. There could be the debate whether the quality of life is the same between both centuries.
I think your stats are wrong, because I think if you look at it, they had a lot of births. A lot of babies died at birth that don't die now. That's the difference. That was happening. If you actually counted all the abortions, okay, you probably would find that our rate would be much, much lower. Like if you took them into consideration, right, for the age, right, that would bring us right down. They don't do that. They fudge the data. I've looked at the data. There were a lot more babies died at birth with complications back then. Now a lot less do. So that's one thing that happens. But there's a lot of abortions now that they don't. So if you had 10 people lived to 100, and then 10 people died at birth, that would make the average, a mean average, 50 years old, right? But if you're not counting those ones that died at birth in those stats, okay, then you would see 100 people. Now what they've done is they kill a lot of babies before they're born. They don't count them, right? And then a lot of the babies, which is an improvement, that do live, we do have the ability to keep them alive. So that is a good thing. But that doesn't mean that people that live a full life are living longer or living healthier. I mean, my granddad still had his he still had a full set of teeth and everything, and he was sharp as a tack. And when he died, they were one of my great aunt, she's gone 100, and she still does everything herself. I mean, this is the reality that I see. But if you take into account that a lot of babies died back then, that does bring the average down.
Well, if you keep active as you two do, eat well, get plenty of natural fresh air and sunlight, you can live a long life. If you're just in a artificially ventilated building, sitting at a computer desk, eating all of that processed long life food, then that's going to have an effect on your health.
100%, and that's one of the biggest problems with today, the sedentary lifestyle that most people live, and that's one of the reasons that the government try to keep the gyms locked down the longest. Longer than any other business, I think the gyms are locked down for no reason whatsoever, other than to keep people unfit.
I got a theory on it. I reckon that the whole reason for shutting the gyms down is because they have very strong social networks, and they have a lot of strong people that could possibly be a real threat to them. So it's to break them up and shut them down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, gyms are the new Hells Angels clubs.
What's that? Yeah,
gyms are the new Hells Angels clubs.
Yeah.
Well, luckily we won't be shutting this gym.
Jarrad, you said that you're near a 5G tower where this gym is.
It's not within 156 meters, thank God. So we haven't got the little transformers all over the place yet, but we aren't far away. It's just up the road. Yarrawonga's full of it. Everywhere is now. So it's Yarrawonga, Wangaratta, Corowa. It's very hard to get out of it. I'm lucky. I live in a small town that's out of town, so we don't have it where we are yet. The day I find out that it's there is the day that we move. I may be wrong about it, but I'm not willing to put my kids at risk when I don't know enough information. They say that it takes 2 years before you see any sort of side effects of it, especially, and it affects the youth more. So I'm not going to take the gamble of making my kids in it. I rarely take my kids into 5G at all. I try to keep them out of it as much. Like, I don't take them into Albury Wodonga. You know, we do our shopping in towns like Rutherglen where, you know, it's limited. You know, we try to make sure that they have as little access to it as possible. I never let them play phones. They never play the tablet. They don't watch TV. They're good. They play in the dirt.
Well, this is the thing, right? There was a guy, his last name was Patterson too. So he might be a relative. He was in New South Wales. He actually worked for Telstra, and they used to put up those towers. And when he became aware of what was
towers.
Yeah, and he ended up he had a tank. He was a military guy. A tank that wasn't obviously an operational tank, but he had a tank. And I've got a mate that actually has something similar as well, right? And we've talked about it. But you know, he actually he pulled a bunch of them down. He spoke to his higher ups. You can look it up. Look up. You know, man goes to jail for you know, in pulling down radio.
Well, we know that if there's a 5G tower that goes down in the Borderlands, we know who's going to be considered the prime suspects.
Don't say that, Tim, because no one more like there'll be someone
will do it.
Okay, do it. I just sit at home with my kids, so you know.
Yeah, but you know, like that. So this guy did work for him. You look it up. His last name's Patterson. I can't remember his other, and that's why I remember it, because my name's Patterson. So I remembered that. And he actually used the tank to pull these things down. He and it's on the record. Look it up. He's been on the news. He's been on it. He went to jail. This wasn't that long ago.
Did he get a long time, or you're not sure?
No, he didn't get that long.
Not terrorism charges. I thought that.
No, but he's still speaking out about the. He was on a one of those mainstream channels a while ago, and they said, "Would you do it? You know, would you do it again?" He said, "Oh, I don't know if I'd do that again." But he was saying that this technology is not safe. But he actually mentioned it, and he brought it up in a number of meetings with his higher ups. They didn't care. Shut up, we're doing it, you know, and that was an issue for it. Especially when you look at the facts and they're there. A lot of people don't look at the facts, so they look at one side, they don't look at the other, and often it's because they don't want to know what's actually right. They just want to mold what they believe it's being. You know, they want to mold the truth, which you can't do. The truth is the truth. It's fixed, but they want to find the information, cherry pick it that suits their way of thinking and enables them to still feel comfortable and at peace. Well, you know, you're not going to be at peace for very long when you start getting side effects, or you do become presented with this information, and you might be living right next to one of these towers, and you only moved there because you believe that they were safe, and you convince yourself that they were, but the evidence is there that this stuff it can be used as a weapon in different frequencies. And I'm not saying that they're doing that, but it is weapon technology that can be used, and they're just going to put it up next to the schools and next to the housing estates, and we're going to trust. I mean, we're trusting. Why would you trust, Tim? Why would you trust the government putting up great big radio frequency towers when they're telling you to wear a mask? The
telecommunication companies.
Yeah, but
and
it's private partnership.
Larry Rude. He put his comment on the screen. What was wrong with 4G? Why did everyone accept 4G, but 5G is suddenly a whole lot worse?
Because the frequencies are much higher with the 5G. That's
for faster internet, but the high frequencies can only travel so far. It's like a short burst, and that's why they're putting up towers everywhere so the frequencies can connect with each other. Have you also heard that they're looking at rolling out face masks, which the 5G signal can absorb and bounce off, so you get better internet by actually wearing a face mask?
I've never heard that one, but I mean, I've heard a lot of crap.
I'm just joking.
It's a good one, but you see that the fact that could be a headline in a mainstream media article.
Yeah, you never know.
That just shows
you were willing to.
I'm still wondering if that video you showed of the Asian kids is real or not. Was that a real anal swab video, or you just don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the anal swab demonstration video, that was real.
Them kids leaving, were they leaving the clinic or?
No. But why would they even have to do a demonstration of it? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, stick this up.
Put the thing into this point, and you pull it out, and you turn it around. You know, they created a whole dummy for it, and did this whole video for it.
Yeah, and did you notice that the dummy had the exact same uniform that prisoners wore at Auschwitz, like the black and white stripes?
It did, didn't it? It did. No, I didn't notice it, but now that you say it, I do. It did exactly. Had that striped, it was like a blue and white striped thing. Yeah.
Gets past you, Tim. That's why you're here.
Yeah, he's attention to detail.
Hey, that's what I was saying today. I get my news from nowhere else. This is my news for the week. That's basically it.
Now, obviously, last year you two got plenty of fines and a few arrests. So, what's the grand total of each of you? Just for the record,
I have no idea.
I got 4 fines and 3 arrests.
Yeah, I got through. I got 4 arrests. Yeah, 4 arrests and a few fines, but I don't know what the total is. I'll never pay them. So 4 arrests is actually a pretty quiet year for me, believe it or not. I
believe that.
When I was a young fella, you know, 4 arrests was sort of just a normal week. But I've slowed down a bit now. So yeah, since I've been married, since I've been married and had kids, we're now going on 7 years. Well, 10 years marriage, 7 years kids. I've been arrested 4 times for
You've been married 10 years. I've been married 10 years as well. And our anniversary just last year.
That's why we both look so old.
And now I saw, Nick, you utilised your fines as some spare toilet paper, but destroying the paper, what is it, penalty infringement notices, they just send you reminders in the mail, and
I haven't got any reminders. I have not, you know, I opted with one of them, I opted for court, and all the other ones, I haven't got a reminder. I haven't got a court date.
Because we got an update recently from the Deputy Police Commissioner, Rick Nugent, who's in charge of all the checkpoints, and that he said that they issued 40,000 fines during the pandemic, and about 3,000 have been paid. Another 5,700 were fined, have accepted guilt and established a payment plan. About 2,400 fines have proceeded to court, but he would not say how many of the fines had been withdrawn. That's kind of telling that he's not willing to admit how many times they got it wrong.
Yeah, so what my experience has been, what these police do, they're always recording, right? So if they ask you, are you aware of the COVID Chief Health Officer?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's like, are you aware that you've violated this, the Chief Health Officer's directions, and you're so bad for doing that?
But if you do that and you say, well, yes, I am, but I'm not going to pay it, that's the one where they would probably take you to court. But that's why you should never speak to the police. They don't have your best interest at heart. They are trained to lie to get you to find guilt, or to convict you or prosecute you. They will lie for that reason. They don't care about you. Okay. Now there might be some police officers. There might be a few that actually are decent blokes, and I've met a couple that are decent blokes, and I just go, "Why are you a police officer?" Because it doesn't suit your character. But they're trying. So if you just don't talk to them and they say, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" None of your business. They're talking to you. Okay, you're not obliged to tell them anything. Now, if they arrest you, they're arresting you based on an assumption. So there's no reasonable ground.
They had this way, I remember, during the pandemic of arresting people for not providing their details. That police they have the authority to ask your details if they believe that you're committing an offence.
Yeah, that's right. And
that's what they arrested people for.
Yeah, so that's how they escalate a smaller offence to a bigger one. It's what they call, turning a molehill into a mountain, right? Or making a mountain out of a molehill. So that's what they're doing. But the thing is, this is what the police don't get. That belief at law is defined by the High Court case George versus Rocket. And it says that in order to establish a state of mind for reasonable grounds, to establish that state of mind, and it actually mentions belief and suspicion, it requires the existence of facts which are sufficient to induce that state of mind in a reasonable person. So for them to just say, we believe something, well, I've given you no information And where's the evidence to verify your belief? You cannot have reasonable grounds at law. You look it up, do some research, ask your lawyer friends. I'm telling you, if you don't give them anything, they've got nothing. That's why they ask you questions, and they make you believe that and they can try to convince you that you have to tell them things. You don't have to tell them anything. You're under no obligation to speak to the police unless you're already under arrest, and that's out of DPP versus Hamilton, and they learn that in the academy. So for them to arrest you without the facts first, that's unlawful, right? And whether or not they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Did you have reasonable grounds to arrest me? And that would require facts to prove that I'd committed an offence. Now, if you don't have any facts, it's an assumption, you don't have reasonable grounds, they're going to be in the crap. But people don't know this stuff, and they know they don't know it. But people are learning it because a lot of people, I get a lot of messages about this stuff. You know, I had this interaction with the police, I had this happened, and you know, and I like to help people. You know, I like to help people to because if more people know their rights, they're going to exercise them. If you exercise, what happens? You get stronger.
Now, the state of emergency was renewed again on January 29th for another month. And the reason they keep renewing it, even though we're, down to, 26 days of zero cases after that Black Rock outbreak at the beginning of the year, which, to Dan Andrews' credit, he didn't lock us down. He did halve the number of visitors to the private home and mandate masks again indoors, but it's returned to that pre-Christmas rules. But we still have the 30 people to your home per day and the 100-person public gathering limit, and that was broken on Australia Day by the Invasion Day activists, but they said they were COVID safe because they wore masks and squirted their hands with hand sanitizer every few moments.
Well, here you go, right? So my mate got belted up by the police, right? He was at the Cranbourne checkpoint, and he was not a checkpoint. It was a COVID testing station, right? And they had all these cars lined up, and they were getting their tests done. So two of my mates were there. One of them had a big sign. And they were giving out flyers with it, just proving that the PCR.
Yeah, I remember those quiet demonstrations.
Yeah, and the police came up. They gave him a direction to move on, and he said, "What for?" And they said, "Because you're a risk to public health." Now there is a provision in the Summary Offences Act, Section 6, for if you're a risk to public health, you have to move on. But that power doesn't exist if you're protesting or you're publicising a point of view with placards.
It's happened heaps of times in the past. I mean, we've seen Avi Yemeni and Neil Erickson moved on for breach of the peace at various or what would you call them? Public voice demonstrations. And it happened again to Avi Yemeni on Australia Day. He wasn't engaging in activism, but just reporting for Rebel News. But yeah, it was breach of the peace, and they move on, and then they detained him.
My mate's one wasn't breach of the peace. It was just a move on because you're a risk to public health. But he had a really good argument. He said, "Look, okay, so what's dangerous about what I'm doing? Well, like, how am I a risk to public health?" And the officer said, "You're handing." He was fully indoctrinated, this officer. He said, "You're handing out paper and you're giving it to people. That's going to transmit. That's a risk of transmission of this virus." And he goes, "What? But I can go to McDonald's and I can hand money over to them, and that's okay. And I can get." And he said, "Oh, they have their COVID plan, their safe plan, so that's okay, and all that stuff." It's ridiculous. Well, I can just go and pay with money anywhere and pay money, and that's. So what is that going to be, a risk to public health now?
I'm surprised that in response to those demonstrations, they haven't tried to pass a law that had to have exclusion zones around COVID testing sites like they do around abortion clinics in Victoria. You're not allowed to engage in activism 150 metres from a COVID testing centre.
Well, I don't know why anyone respects these particular laws. When a law is inconsistent with, and with me, I just go, if it's against, because I'm a Bible believing man, I believe in equity. If it's against equity, it's against your rights, then I'm going to disregard it, because it's not a real law. It's a man-made idea that you have to indoctrinate other people into. I mean, you know, the reason that we have like a constitution and these things, the constitution really isn't for the, I don't believe it's for the people. It's for the governments and the administration and the judiciary to know what the rights are of the people. It's so they know that you can't infringe on there's certain levels and limits to your power, but they just take it. They don't care. These people are psychopaths. They're going to take whatever power they can take.
A pro-life mother of 10, she challenged Victoria's exclusion zone laws around abortion clinics to the High Court with the help of the Human Rights Law Alliance, led by Martin Iles, now director of the Australian Christian Lobby, and her case was dismissed. She's a Catholic mother of 10. She was labelled a right-wing extremist by the Herald Sun for attending the 2019 March for the Babies.
Well, look, they've been pushed. I mean, look at this conversion therapy, bill that they're looking at. There
was a demonstration by organised by the Australian Christian Lobby, along with various Christian and other faith groups, I should mention, from around the state. And Martin Iles published this advertisement in the Herald Sun: "Dear Premier, we are not criminals." It's hard to make out what the letter is, but this is it's to crack down, or to completely make illegal LGBT conversion therapy, not just by health professionals, but by anyone, by faith groups or churches. You can go to jail for how many? I think 10 years, and you can get an insane $10,000 fine. And Dan Andrews says that conversion therapy or pray away the gay, it costs lives. And he said that Margaret Court's traditional biblical views on homosexuality cost lives. What, like the 800 lives that are attributed to you mismanaging alleged COVID the alleged COVID deaths in nursing homes.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's hypocrisy, right? I
was very careful when I said that, because these people in the nursing home, they died with COVID, and we know that flu runs rampant in nursing homes as well. But it was because there was no infection control in those nursing homes, failing to quarantine the actual sick. So does my explanation there make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I mean, I think the point is that they're just complete hypocrites, right? Now, why should I be, and you and Jazz? Why should we be compelled to have honour and respect for people that are known liars and hypocrites? Because respect is earned, I mean, it's the same with like judges, Your Honour. But if they weren't honourable, why would you call them that and give them that title? I mean, it's an earned title.
Bestowed on them, because there's Your Honour in the judge, and then there's the ministers who are called the Honourable. And also I mentioned Margaret Court because there was huge uproar that she got the highest Order of Australia honour, which is a companion of the Order of Australia. And a few handed theirs back, and Kerry O'Brien, that former ABC journalist, handed his back in protest, because only people who have our worldview should be allowed to get state bestowed honours.
But it's all an ideological war in the first place, right? So how are we divided? People think, we're divided by race or this. No, it's ideas. Because you'll get different racial groups now, and different maybe even religious groups. It is definitely ideas, and if they can keep us, fighting or just not being able to work together with other people because they have a different point of view, it's basically straining at a gnat, right? We're both so focused on one thing. They're compartmentalizing our minds so that we can't see the bigger picture and realize what's happening to us. I mean, the fact that you have to think like us. You have to think like us, and if you don't think like us, then you're bad. Basically, that's what it is. That's their religion. That's their, what do they call it? It should be a motto for them, right? But that's what they believe, that you have to think like us. So they're the privileged group that have the right thoughts, and their agenda is right. So if you don't agree, but you're free, but you're also free, but your freedom's limited. But it's not so much limited if you agree with us. But if you don't agree with us and you think like somebody else, and you have contradictory views to us, well, then you're going to be restricted even more. And people need to learn what's happening. But I think the problem is people don't care enough about, because they care more about what they can get. Because it's like, well, it's not affecting me now, so it's okay. Maybe you're in a different state and Victoria's in a lockdown. Oh, well, it's not really us, Or maybe you're in a different community, like think of those people that were in the high-rise commission flats. They were locked up. Oh, it's not really us. So first, second great commandment: love thy neighbor as thyself. That's what we should do. We see someone getting abused, hurt, harmed, defamed, anything like that, and there's no legitimate reason for any of this. We should be all going into bat for them. And I like the old school way of lynching people. You don't have to hang them and kill them, but I like what they do in Serbia, where they pick them up, the politicians, and they throw them into a bin out the front. I like the tar and feathering that they used to do. As long as you're doing it to the right people, the people that are hypocrites, the people that have too much power, and the people that don't care about you and are trying to divide the people against each other. So that they can keep us under control, so that we can't amass a big enough force, or to have any actual impact against their goals. But this is how they control us. It's like a Game of Thrones, and we're just the little people that are given the scraps, and they keep us fat, but we're slaves. We have to realize they think of us as slaves. You got to pay income tax to the tax department. Okay, I get paying taxes and things for certain reasons, but it's like, you got to pay. Look, I'll bring up the case with the local government. Local government, okay, they're no different than just a racket from like the mob that go around and say, look, if you don't pay us protection money, we're going to mess up your stuff. Well, if you don't pay us for that permit, we're going to come and wreck your stuff. Oh, did you build something here? Well, we're going to wreck your stuff. Did you pay your rates? You didn't pay your rates. Well, you're in default again. Oh, well, we're going to take your house. And my understanding, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I got it from a pretty reliable source. 25 properties a day are being taken by local government in this country for various reasons. But one of them would be, you didn't pay your rates. And this is the sort of thing that's happening. It's just a big protection racket. And that's all the government is. And if you look at history, you'll find that a lot of these really bad criminals in history ended up in the government. Do you remember that movie, The Departed? I think it was The Departed with Jack Nicholson and what's his name?
Matt Damon is in it as well.
Yeah.
So
maybe Jack Nicholson's character in real life, his brother ran the Massachusetts, the Senate in Boston. That's a fact, right? This is who these people are. They're just criminals. They're just criminals that do it right. There's no question that the government wants people laundering money. We're having a chat about it, because a lot of these small businesses are going under. But if they launder money, they can survive. It's not so hard. But they have to, and it's in the best interest of the government that companies are laundering money, because they can get, because when they pay that tax on that money, they're cleaning that money, right? And that's a fact, right? So not only are small businesses getting squeezed so much that many of them are going, what are we going to do? And they do other things to survive, because the burdens are so heavy on their necks. But it's in the best interest of the government to have that kind of money. And I spoke to a mate of mine who's really good mates with a high up police officer, who said that the reason that they haven't cracked down on the drugs, and that is because the government wants it's good for the economy to have drugs in the economy, because what happens is people selling drugs spend money, large amounts of money.
I haven't heard that argument before, because if that was the case, they'd just legalize drugs.
Well, no, because the money wouldn't be there. The people that sell drugs and they have lots of money, and they have to spend it on things. If they put it in the account can be garnished if there's too much money in there. So they just spend money on things. And so, and that, look, I can't prove that. That's what a friend of mine said, his mate that was in the police said. So it was something to that effect, that the reason that they're happy to have the drug trade operating the way it is, because I mean, you can't tell me, if the government wanted the drug trade gone, it would be gone. Look at all the power they had. They could shut down the country.
Like any war on something, like whether it be war on terror or war on poverty, war on drugs is never going to succeed.
No. War on cancer won't succeed. The war on, terrorism.
Well, the government have sold drugs forever. It started in the 60s with the heroin trade. So, and it started through Corsica. And what happened was that they seen the communists were starting to make a lot of money off drugs. And America seen that. And they decided, we need this income for ourselves. There's a lot of money to be made. So then they allowed, they based it out of Corsica. The CIA went over and they set up these Corsican crime families. And I don't know if you know much about Corsica, but Corsica's a little island that's off
the Mediterranean.
And it's been under either French or Italian rule forever. And they've been persecuted the whole time. So the Corsicans have very little respect for law, because the laws have always been unjust towards them. So they've never had their own government or anything per se. They've always been ruled by a dictator or a dictating force.
Have you read that book, Drugs Inc.?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a good one. That explains it too. Connection to the royals and the opium farms.
But they set up these heavy Corsican families to control the Golden Triangle throughout Thailand and Vietnam and all that area, and to funnel all the heroin into America and England and all these Western countries to keep it out of the hands of the communists.
It's very complex. The illicit on paper drug industry and all the relationships with the cartels. We want to keep this, the aim to keep is to keep this show for an hour and a half every week. We've got about 10 minutes left. We have got another super chat on Entropy from Aussie Mozzie for $3 Australian. This question, this money is for the face tat guy. If he doesn't get it, I'll charge back. Question: why are you on a stream with a homosexual? Brackets Tim.
Why wouldn't I be? Yeah. Hey, we've just had people in the background saying what a dick. Fuck you, man. Tim, mate, don't even ask them questions. Don't worry about them, bro. Why wouldn't we be?
Well, he paid for that that question. So.
I actually didn't know Nick was homosexual, to be honest, but it doesn't change the way I feel about him at all. So fuck you, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I want to talk about just briefly the hypocrite of the week, or should I say alleged hypocrite of the week, because charges are pending. Andrew O'Keefe, that annoying Deal or No Deal morning show host, massive lefty, has been arrested in Sydney and faces domestic violence charge. This is 4 years after he got an Australia Day award for his campaign against domestic violence, and he said his work is just the beginning.
Yeah, well, I don't know the full story there, so I'm not gonna say too much about that. Did he actually beat her? Is there photos?
Well, it's alleged at the moment. If it's...
Look, these days, if you tell your missus to keep her voice down, you can be charged for domestic assault. So it's I can't speak on that.
I think it's a prerequisite to be a complete hypocrite to be in any elite sphere in the media or government.
Yeah,
you need to be.
So this is the charge here. Police will allege the former Weekend Sunrise and current The Chase host assaulted his rumoured partner and Sydney-based doctor Ori Lovey at an apartment in Randwick just before 1 a.m. I remember when this became public, Mark Latham put out a tweet because he debated Andrew O'Keefe on domestic violence on Weekend Sunrise. He told Mark Latham he was an expert on domestic violence. He was not wrong.
Well, my grandma used to tell me nothing good happens after 1 a.m. So there you go. You know, what's he upbeat his missus for at that time?
Allegedly,
of course.
You've got to the legal speak. You've got to put, if something's before the court, alleged.
All right. I'll try to keep that in mind. I'll probably get us into a bit of trouble, Tim, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. All I know that what's going to stick with me like the most for tonight is there'll probably be a headline tomorrow. Nick Patterson calls for public tarrings and featherings. That was
only for hypocrites that have too much power.
And we definitely support that. So look for the petition. We hope you all sign it, but we're bringing back public tarrings and featherings.
Well, I'm not sure if we'll get any media chatter or outrage on our first episode, but I think our debut is going to be overshadowed by Pete Evans interviewing Craig Kelly, which is broken Twitter this evening. It was recorded this afternoon. Of course, Craig Kelly is the Liberal backbencher who's been outspoken against police state lockdowns, and he's also proposed alternate treatments to vaccines for COVID, such as Invimic and hydroxychloroquine. They're wanting to, there's a campaign to either get Craig Kelly's Liberal pre-selection revoked next election, or get a fake independent candidate to run against him in that safe Liberal seat. So they're called on Twitter, because it's a leftist sewer, the Blue Drops. They're all outraged about this, and they especially don't like that Scott Morrison doesn't condemn him, because he rightly says, oh, it's a free country, and yeah, Craig Kelly's not my doctor. So
well, he seems to be one of the only ones that's actually being a prominent voice for people that think like, you know, in my community, and think that way. You know, the fact that he's suggesting that, yeah, maybe don't take away people's rights and give them other options. I think that's a beautiful thing. And look, they might from within the party, you know, kick him out. They might vote him out. That's the sort of thing they might do. And they might say, you know, we're going to put someone else up for that position in that electorate. They do things like that because it is a club. Don't tell me that the Liberal Party is on the club. Labor Party's on the club. I don't know about the Labor Party because I wasn't in there, but I was in the Liberal Party for 4 years, and I know that they are just a big club, and there's different factions, and they all sort of look after each other, and there's definitely one class, and then there's people underneath, and you know, if you've got the eyes to see, you can see it. I hope that everything genuine happens, and that he does, you know, have a bit of influence. But it is hard for like one member of Parliament to have a big influence if there's a whole lot of members that are against them, especially when they're within their own party.
Well, the Labor opposition, they attack him and George Christensen heavily for the same reasons. They've both been guests on my Wilms Front program, which is I guess another black mark against their name in Labor eyes. Christina Keneally, Labor's Shadow Home Affairs spokeswoman, called me an alt-right extremist when she was condemning George Christensen coming on Wilms Front, and she's the one who's been campaigning for this right-wing extremism inquiry. She'd think that, well, this you're both extremists. This is a fringe conspiracy theorist show. She even thinks that CPAC Australia, the Conservative conference, is a gathering of right-wing extremists, conspiracy theorists.
It's a complete oxymoron. Like to say that a conservative who wants to conserve the way things are is extreme. How can it be extreme to try and keep things the way? It's the complete antithesis of extreme. It's mild, right? We need to actually be much more extreme because the other side are literally extremists. They want to change everything radically and remold this whole world into something else.
Yeah, they want a mixture of communism and globalism, which, well, the globalists had their annual meeting. Spectre met in their lair in Davos. Sorry, not Spectre. The World Economic Forum met in Davos, and Klaus Schwab. This is what he said about the rollout of the vaccines this year.
It's the same we have to apply now on a global level. As long as not everybody is vaccinated, nobody will be safe.
Davos just sounds dark, doesn't it?
I know. And he didn't have his Persian cat with him when he was saying
exactly. With his big chair and I know
A patch over the eye.
No, the number 2 of the World Economic Forum has the eye patch.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fucking number 2s.
Yeah.
There's
We're about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll just mention the next round of anti-lockdown, pro-freedom activism. That's the Millions March against mandatory COVID vaccinations nationwide on February the 20th at midday local time. So it's happening in Canberra, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Hobart, Adelaide, Darwin, Brisbane, and Cairns.
Well, I definitely won't be that one. We have boys fighting that day. We have a local interclub on. So Big Jimmy Hitter's fighting, Big Ace is fighting, Young Chips is fighting, buddy Chris Mitchell's fighting. We have a whole team going.
Well, it says down the bottom of you, it says hashtag MMA, MCV, right? MMA.
Millions March against mandatory COVID vaccination.
Okay.
There you go.
They're doing the other MMA.
Yeah, well, we're doing fire.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
close, but no tomato.
We didn't have time tonight to go into any of the COVID vaccines, but we've got heaps more shows to come when we can explore that topic, especially when the rollout happens at the beginning of March.
Yeah, mate, we'll be here every week, so we've plenty of time to discuss it. And Nick's going to be up here once a month or so at the moment to help us out the gym. He's building, helping us build our gym up and do our wrestling coaching and stuff for it. Will help us with it. He's been very generous, and yeah, we can't thank him enough. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on live a lot more. I think it's a lot better when we have a couple of people on the camera instead of being everyone by Zoom calls. It's nice to sit this close to each other every now and then. So it gives you that human connection.
Yes, you're close to 1.5 meters to each other.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, if they ask, we weren't like this. But yeah,
It's just the camera angle.
Yeah. We're definitely COVID safe in this gym. Hard Knocks Combat, Yarrawonga. Get down and support.
All right, thank you, Jarrad, and thank you, Nick. We'll be back again same time next week on the Unshackled YouTube and D Live channel on Entropy, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time or Victorian time every Monday. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Tomorrow night will be Trad Tasman Talk, 7 p.m. Melbourne time on the Unshackled channel. Myself and Dewey DeBoer, we're returning to our traditional Tuesday slot, and then Wilmsfront returns at the new time, 8:30 p.m. Wednesday, Melbourne time on the Tim Wilms YouTube and D Live. And then Thursday, of course, I'm a regular on the Dusty Bogans Thirsty Thursday. So action-packed week back. Yeah.
That's a full week of Tim Wilms.
That's how I like it.
That's what everyone needs. Get a bit of Tim in you.
Good night, everyone.
All right, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you,
everyone,
mate.
for the chat, and thanks for the super chats.
Has
seek to organise a public event, just like the tank magnet connected with like putting on such an important event.